Hello, everyone. It's a Thursday evening. I'm here alone. Blake is having some computer issues, so he's going to jump on here with me shortly. So thank you all for joining us. This is the pre-show. So as you can tell by the title today, we are going to be talking about the first human use of high bandwidth wireless brain-computer interfaces and all the human factors applications to that. So it'll be an exciting show for you all. Let's see here. I'm drawing a blank here. What do we normally do during the pre-show is we put together the show notes. So I've got the article in there, and I think what we're going to do as soon as Blake jumps on is we're going to have him write up the blurb, and then we're just going to chat. Let's see here. So for anyone who's watching, hello, welcome. This is the pre-show. I know we usually pick up a couple new folks, especially around the time of conferences. Our name gets out there quite a bit. So if you're joining us from one of these conferences going on, whether that be the Human Factors Healthcare Symposium that's going on right now, or the Chartered Institute of Human Factors and Ergonomics, CIEHF, over there in the UK, that's happening next week. You may have seen us, I don't know, somehow. Welcome to the show. This is what you're watching now. This is the pre-show. If you're looking for the actual show, skip ahead about 30 minutes in, and you should find the actual show. But this is where Blake and I usually break down the news stories in terms of what we're talking about on the show. He will craft a little blurb so we can read about it on the show, and I will go through and look at some of the stuff that we can pull out for the It Came From section. So with that, I mean, I guess I can just start surveying what we have. And now this is not something that I think I've shown on stream before, but what I can do while we are all waiting for Blake to jump on is I can pull up our Slack channel. So we've built some automation using IFT. It's nothing fancy. It's literally just a way for us to pull in things from some of the top relevant subreddits. And this is a way for us to just kind of look at, kind of what's going on over the course of all the different Reddits out there, subreddits. So this is where we source our information from. So I'll share this with you in a moment as soon as I get it up and running. This is a locked channel, and that's only because there's so much stuff that comes in through this. It's literally like a consolidation of subreddits here. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and share my screen here. Again, we're waiting for Blake to jump on, but this is what I'm looking at every week. So you can see IFT is bringing in If This Then That is the tool that we're using, and this will basically bring in. This will bring in hot posts from all of these different subreddits. So you can see here, if I hover over it, you can see, oh yeah, this looks like it's from the user experience subreddit. So let's see here. I'll make that a little bigger for you all. So I'm just looking through these. And what I usually do is kind of just survey these to see what would fit for the show, what would make sense, that type of thing. So what I'm doing now is I'll just take a look here. Let's see here. Favorite blogs and podcasts from user experience. Hey, Human Factors Cast is a great podcast. You should listen to it. And if anyone knows of any other Human Factors podcasts, feel free to just submit them in the chat. I'd love to give them some exposure and just kind of, let everybody else know of some of those podcasts. Let's see here. How to test for screen readers, student projects, coursework, mentioning difficult clients during interviews. Ooh. Now this is maybe, hang on. Let's see. They say never badmouth an employer in an interview, but is it okay to acknowledge that you're dealing with a challenging external client? Okay. You know what? I like this one. I'm going to take this. So what I usually do is I just do that. And that will give me enough information to go off of in the show. So I'm going to go ahead and post it in our show notes. I have show notes up in a separate tab here, so you won't see that. But I will bring this in. Let's see. And I will confer with Blake as soon as he is on about whether or not he wants to do that one. An interview with Candy Williams, content design, wireframing, prototyping, well-designed resumes, Simon Fraser University, see it questions. For enterprise tables. Oh, by the way, we usually do collect questions from our patrons. There is one this week that's actually a really exciting one. I had to actually look up and dig a little bit to find an answer for this one, but we usually do for the It Came From section. So we already have one of them in there this week. It's a question regarding heuristics for physical spaces. So I thought that was a really interesting question. We're going to be talking about it on the show. But for now, we're looking for other things that we can potentially talk about here as well, just to fill time. Let's see here. We're looking at research for content experience. Again, if you're watching this, this is our Slack channel. This is something that we have actually, this is Blake and I really, it's our channel to look through some of these and we flag them as we see them. If you are in our Slack community and want to be a part of this, just DM me. I can certainly add you to the channel. There's a lot of spam though. You can see like this, we're still on yesterday. So there's a lot to kind of go through here. Let's see here. How do I involve myself more in the design process as a UX writer? Overall design process, read a couple articles, none quite relevant to my issue. Pass. Best place to find volunteers for charitable projects within the industry. So these user experience ones, I usually frame from a human factors perspective. Some of them are relevant, but I think a lot of the questions are still really good when framed from that human factors perspective, right? There's a lot of crossover between user experience and human factors. Some of the tool-based ones I don't typically take, right? Like Figma, I wouldn't take a question on Figma. I'm looking for more, I guess, professional development questions. Like this one here, how to remain connected to a mentor. We had a mentor question last week, but I like this one. So I like it enough to pull it anyway. We'll talk to Blake about it as soon as he jumps on. Again, if you're just joining us, welcome. This is our pre-show. Our actual show here will start at about 5 p.m. Pacific or 8 Eastern. I had to do the quick math in my head. We are waiting for Blake. He is experiencing some computer problems. In fact, let me just take a look what he says. Okay, he has not said anything. So I'm under the assumption that he is on trying to get his end under control, and we will get there when we get there. Stay tuned, folks. This is the live portion. All right, we're going to keep looking here. Yeah, so we took the mentor question, the future, and our titles. Don't care. Let's see here. How to deal with a negative PM. All right. The interpersonal relationships are also fun to talk about. I'm just going to snag a couple of these, honestly. And we'll get a sense of what Blake wants to talk about. So I can share with you all, chat. I got my second COVID vaccine dose today. And it was about 8 hours ago. And they are saying that you can experience symptoms as soon as 10 hours later. So we may see a gradual deterioration of my cognitive ability and physical presence on the show. So that's something to stay tuned for. Hey, Frank. Frank's in the chat. Frank of episode 197, and we talked about vaccine logistics on the show. In fact, And I got a story to tell about that. So at one location, so I got the second dose at a different location that I got the first dose at. And, it was, the first dose was very efficient. That you walked in, everyone went on a certain pathway where you would never cross, the same direction with somebody else. It was a one-way street, kind of everybody went in and out. And then they had you wait, and then you got out. And the second location was very clunky. You had to get in an elevator with 4 or 5 other people. You had to walk down a hallway. You had to walk through a group that has already gotten the vaccination, that just got the vaccination, to sit in chairs at the back of the room. And then they called you up. The one advantage I will say about the second location is that they actually sat there and they gave you a timer. They give you 15 minutes before you can leave, just to make sure that you don't keel over and die there in the hospital, right? So, the the second experience was very clunky, and I think it's largely because of the traffic flow with the elevator. But I found that really interesting. I've heard some places doing it very well, and some places not so well. Let's see here. We are just stalling for time while Blake is trying to get on here. That's okay. This is still the pre-show. We got about 15 minutes for the actual show. I see there's some of you watching now. So thank you if you're watching. Hello. Loving the numbers I'm seeing tonight. So thank you all for joining us. Actual show starts here in a few minutes. I know I'm going to keep repeating myself, but I keep seeing people join. So thank you for sticking with us. And that's kind of the beauty of this live aspect of this, I think. This one could be relevant. Moving from one company to another, imposter syndrome. Level 1 at a current company, leading projects on my own. Let's snag it. We'll see what Blake thinks. Yeah, we're just grabbing that. How's everyone else doing tonight? Well, wait. I'm going to put that one more down there. There we go. If you're just joining us, we are talking about on the show tonight the I see Blake's in the hold on, give me 1 minute. Blake's in the show notes, so he's there. We're gonna just double check and make sure that he has the right link to the stream tonight. He's clicking on the link. Let's see here. Yep, it's the same link. He should be in here momentarily, so stick with us. Oh yeah, we're talking about brain-computer interfaces and the first human who's going to use high bandwidth wireless brain-computer interfaces. We're going to be talking about the human factors of these brain-computer interfaces on the show tonight. It'll be exciting. I think brain-computer interfaces, this is kind of like we had the Neuralink story with the monkey, and that's cool, but like brain-computer interfaces just in general are very cool. Let's see here. Yes, I see him trying to join. We'll get him in a minute. I'm going to keep looking through these Reddit posts here. Again, we're looking for things that are interesting that we can sit here and talk about and break down from a human factors perspective. How to connect and make friends with others after a career transition. I don't know, man. That's a good question. It's hard to make friends as an adult. I'll say that. Let's see here. I guess I can use this time to also let everybody know, if you're new to this and you are just joining us for the first time, we do host office hours on our Twitch, where on Tuesdays I will sit here and break down some of the news stories that don't make the cut, and kind of what that criteria is for being able to talk about it on the show. Of course, our patrons do choose our news stories, like the one that they chose tonight. And of course, though, there are a bunch of other news stories, and we started actually doing news roundups, so you can get to those. You can get to those on our website. Sorry, I'm making sure Blake's not texting me, because I saw him click on the link. I'm not seeing him in here. Let's see here. Let me just give him a quick text really quick. Let's see, you're still having issues. All right. We'll see what's going on. So yeah, I do office hours Tuesday at 11 a.m. Pacific. Blake does them Sunday at 9:30 a.m. Pacific. And what he usually does is a mix between designing a website and or his personal portfolio website. So you can pick up some tools, tips, and tricks as it pertains to building out a website and content generation and all that stuff. And he also, just this most recent weekend, we've started doing something new. So we're looking for kind of a hook, if you will, for each of our platforms. Here on Twitch, we have our office hours, or I guess we're all over the place, right? Twitch has our office hours, and then YouTube will have our pre-recorded videos. It'll actually, we're doing something a little different, and Blake will talk about it on the show tonight. But long story short, we are consolidating the It Came From section and just building those out as individual little bite-sized chunks. So that way, if you want to ever go back and search for some advice from us, you can certainly do that and search by keyword and all that stuff. So it'll be a good way to kind of take that content. And that's actually a listener request. A lot of our listeners actually wrote in about that. Something early career professionals find very valuable is to sort of have that resource. They sit down and listen to our show multiple times and take notes. And that was kind of surprising to me, but it's very interesting how valuable that information that we talk about on the show is. It's just me and Blake ranting, but some people find it very valuable. So we've decided to take that content and break it out into individual little bits. Show might start a little late tonight, guys, and that's okay. Let's see here. Finding time for portfolio on top of J job. Well, let's see here. We are still looking. We're at Monday, so almost to where we were last week. Where should I start to get into UX design? Quick question on affordances. Maybe. Check back in the show notes here. What's Blake doing? He is still clicking on the link. I do not see him in here. I wonder. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. We're about 10 minutes out, folks. We're okay. Is my manager that horrible? Ooh, hold on. I'm not sure if I'm overreacting because I'm not interested in the industry or if my manager is really horrible. The only designer on my team. Manager assists me on tasks. Assigns me tasks. I'm an organized person, so I need to know what I'll be working on every week in advance. Getting tasks. Yeah, let's pull it. We'll see if Blake wants to talk about that. There we go. I asked Blake if he's having any trouble via chat or via text, and he hasn't responded yet, so we'll see what's going on there. Thank you for bearing with me. I usually have somebody to bounce things off of during this time, at least during our pre-show, so I'm pulling in some of my office hours banter and probably struggling. I don't know. It might be going okay, but thanks for all for bearing with me. I see there's quite a few people in chat here, or at least watching. I know Periscope doesn't have chat, or maybe it does. I don't know how it goes. I think it does. We'll see. All right, is my manager that horrible? Professional development. Hi everyone. Oh, human factors. Focusing on medical devices. Ultimately, capstone to take over the summer. Finish up. Few interviews, told position only if I delayed my graduation to 2021. Why? No, why? Internships have stipulation of returning to classes once the internship. Oh, I see. Oh, that's so stupid. Let's look at it. Let's pull it just in case. I hate that stipulation. That is such a. I mean, I get it, but at the same time, it's like, how are you supposed to get that research experience if, like, you're applying in your last semester. Anyway, it's a little BS. That's just my thoughts. Let's keep looking here. Where it's Saturday. So we're almost to back to Thursday. So UX design professional. Okay. Can do UX jobs at the same time. Oh, are you crazy? Maybe. Full-time? Yes. Part-time consulting? No. That's an easy answer. Oh boy. Look who's here, everybody.
Share. What's up, everybody? How's it going, Nick?
Hey, Blake.
Oh, man. So,
wrong mic.
Yeah, to give you a heads up, this machine may or may not work.
Oh boy.
I'm most concerned about the recording because I'm using Elise's old machine right now, and it has no space on it. So I'm not really sure if it's going to be able to handle it or not.
Well, here, I'll tell you what. If it doesn't handle it, I can grab the audio from the YouTube video or the Twitch video. It's fine. We'll make it work.
Yeah, as long as there's a backup, no big deal. All right.
Yeah. Yeah. How are you, Blake?
Fantastic, man. Yeah, not bad.
Sitting here.
How's everything going for you this week?
Oh, good. I was telling everybody I got my second COVID shot, and there was a mad. Well, first off, we may experience cognitive and physical decline on the show tonight because it was around 8 hours ago. So who knows? And then the second thing is that there's like some wild inefficiencies with the place that I went to for the second one because it was different from the first one. The first one was very efficient. Second one was not. Hey, let's see what's going on with your mic. What's going on with your mic?
Shouldn't be anything.
Okay. Why don't you look at your settings really quick? Because I don't think it's pulling in your good mic.
All right, let me check for restream because it won't know my settings on this computer.
Yeah.
Let's see what it did.
If that's not the case, then that's a problem.
Yep, there we go. That's good.
All right, there we go. Cool. Okay.
There's a little bit.
Where are we at notes wise, man?
We are. So I've been looking through Reddit stories. So if we need the blurb, I pulled some resources for the story tonight, but not the actual blurb. So we need the blurb.
Okay.
Aside from that, I just pulled a couple Reddit stories or Reddit it came from sections. Just to go over the show notes with you. If you're watching along in chat, there's quite a few people on tonight, Blake. So if you're watching along in chat, I want to say thank you. So, Blake, at the top of the show, programming notes, I want you to mention the new YouTube series that you have been putting together. I also wanted to talk just like pre-show stuff. There's the thumbnails. What did you think about the thumbnails? Did you see the thumbnails?
Did you change them?
I did,
No,
yeah.
no.
I texted you about it. You may not have seen it. So I went in and changed the thumb. Actually, hang on. So I will show you on stream here. We can start a couple minutes late since we're just hanging out. We can start at like 5 after or whatever. It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
but
we might have to because this thing is chugging. I can't even get it to actually paste the story. So this is gonna be tough. All right.
So let me pull up in the meantime while you are looking at the story there. I want to show you some fun thing that I did for the thumbnail. So copy. And maybe you can take this and run with it going forward. But I kind of want to sensationalize them a little bit. And you'll see what I mean here in a minute. So I've updated them to be a little bit more in line with our visual style. So
what?
So look at
reptile skin in the back. What is that?
So that's actually reason I use that. There's a reason I actually use that. So that's kind of with our visual language that we've been using for our other things. If we do a Q&A roundup, monthly where we just post a link to all the videos and the link to the original podcast, like we talked about, then we'll use this this orange, right? Which was at one point it came from section background back when we were doing the full video production. And you can see here our weekly news roundups have the green, and then our monthly news roundups are going to have blue. So that's kind of our color scheme, our style guide, if you will. And so this is what I've done. So I've kind of sensationalized them a little bit. I put emojis on there, and I've kind of highlighted some phrases that are taken out of context that would entice people to click. Some might call it clickbait. I don't care. It's
absolutely,
it's hysterical.
But it is what it is. Anyway, so that's cool. Awesome job. One thing I'll need you to do, I'm going to actually need you to copy and paste the story, or else I'm not going to be able to get it done.
Oh boy.
I can't do it. So you're going to have to.
Yeah, give me a minute.
I should be able to edit it. No big deal. I hope, because it looks like I'm able to change the show notes and stuff.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I hope everything's this is going to be a show, man. That's for sure.
It's going to be interesting.
Gonna
be interesting.
Here, let me go ahead and copy the story. Tell you what. For everyone watching, we might be back tomorrow night, or I might be back tomorrow night to do some coverage of the healthcare symposium. So if you're watching this and want to join us for that, please do. Okay, here.
Excellent. I hope it's gone well.
Yeah, I'll talk about it during the the show tomorrow, but generally yes. I'll give a sneak peek here. It's the same problem that we had, so I just posted it. Wow, that's yikes. All right, do what you will with that.
This might take a minute. Wow,
hang on.
Brought everything.
Here, let me do this. I'll just paste the. There you go. How about that? That's much better.
All right. Cool.
Yeah, just generally, I feel like we were fortunate enough to actually get passes, or I got a comp pass for the event, and I think having it being something that extra that I was doing on top of regular work and regular scheduled things, it was kind of a late breaking thing, right? And so it's a little difficult to get 2 meetings live. Anyway, it's just we'll talk about more a little bit tomorrow. We're hoping to have a little bit more coverage than just tomorrow, so stay tuned for that. Anyway, yeah, I do want to talk about these thumbnails really quick. So, should I quit my job? I've tried everything. They literally laughed when I told them how many hours I was working. Sensationalize it, right? Here's the other one that we posted yesterday, I think. What would you say to a company that doesn't like the fact that you have a side business? At first, I thought she was just interested in my side business. I explained to her that I work only my side business during my free time, and that's actually not my full-time gig. So again, I'm just trying to pull things. This one, here's a sneak peek for everyone who's watching live. I love this one because it takes everything way out of context. How can I deal with praise from my mentor? I can't handle praise from my mentor. I feel so awkward with him. I'm finding it hard to cope with these praises. I can't say I like the feeling.
Oh, wow. Yikes.
Yeah, fun stuff. I love it. Anyway, that's a little sneak peek. Again, it's just kind of recycled content from our last episode, but it's going to be a good, I think, a good way for people to search and filter on the questions that we already answered on the show. And again, it was a listener request. So if you're with us, I told you to skip forward about 30 minutes if you are waiting for the actual show. It's going to be another 5 minutes or so. Blake joined a little late, so we're still working on the show notes. All
right, let's get out of this. Yeah, I literally can't use any of the normal typing functions. This is interesting. How did Luis use this for so long? Right.
Hey, do you have something for one more thing? I'm just asking.
Nope, I do not. I'll have to make it up on the spot.
All right. Well, you have a whole show to think about it. We're okay. Blake, can you take it away for a minute?
I can give it my best. Yeah. Let's see.
It'll literally just be 1 minute.
Have at it. All right. Go on.
All right. Blake.
I have never known how much I actually depended on copying and pasting and cutting and all that kind of stuff until tonight. But regardless, I think I've got something together. It's not going to be the cleanest blurb I've ever written because I'm not able to disclose many things and rewrite it as quickly. But nonetheless, it should be good. All right, cool. If anybody has any questions in the chat, I can see all of them across whatever platform you might be watching on. So feel free to toss anything our way. One thing that I'll throw for this pre-show stuff that I'm not going to announce for another couple of weeks, and I talked about it a little bit on Sunday during office hours with Nick. But on Mondays, I have started doing Mentor Mondays. So I have a 2-hour block from 4 to 6 that I take these like 15-minute power sessions reviewing UX portfolios, reviewing resumes, and all that kind of stuff through a group called ADP List. It's free. I don't get paid for it. It doesn't cost anybody anything. So if you're interested in anything like that, you can reach out to me there. Again, I'm not going to announce that like on LinkedIn or anywhere else for another couple of weeks because I'm trying to see like how much I like the platform, how much I feel like it provides value. But over the past probably 2 weeks, I feel like it's been a fun time. So if that's something you're interested in, a little career advice, or just stopping by to say, hey, on a Monday, feel free. All right. So, all right, Nick, this is not going to be a beautiful blurb because I can't stuff around. I do need to check my audio, and I'm real scared about it. So let me just try that real quick.
Yeah, I mean, if the audio thing doesn't work out, like I said, we have a backup as long as you're connected. So if you're not connected, that's where it gets a little dicey. And this is weird. So like if you're watching live, that's the reason why there's live content that's so enticing because you get to see how the sausage is made.
Okay.
And
is that recording? Yes, it is. Cool. All right.
Yeah. Let me make sure mine's recording.
So I can do it. We'll see if it loses its mind during the stream.
Okay.
It should be
Great.
okay.
Cool.
It's just a nice little quick time.
Yeah, where are we at? Let's see here. So all this stuff south of the blurb here in the show notes, we're not talking. That's just notes from the article. Yes.
Yeah, that's just notes from the article. I can't move anything around, so I'm just kind of leaving it alone.
Yeah. Do we want to kill him? And you can just reference the article?
There's one bit in here that I'm going to leave, and I'll just delete everything else except for it.
Okay, great.
And then should be good.
All right. So we're only starting about 5 minutes late. That's okay. Hey, we actually had a Patreon for It Came From section. So that will be
finally.
I hope you have an answer prepared because I had to research this a little bit.
I won't have an answer prepared, but usually I'm pretty good on the spot.
Okay. Well, how do you feel about heuristics for physical spaces?
Yeah, won't know anything about it. All I can do is provide resources for that kind of stuff.
I got you, man. All right.
Yeah, this might be one you just need to take the lead on if you've done the research.
Yeah. Okay. Quick couple of questions before we actually start the show. What do we want to tackle for It Came From, right? So let's take two, right? Mentioning difficult clients during interviews, how to remain connected with a mentor, moving from one company to another, how to deal with a negative PM. Is my manager that horrible?
That's interesting. So I saw the connected with a mentor one. I have more background there, so I feel like I can provide utility. Deal with a negative PM. And then let's do either negative PM or management. See if we can provide some ways around it.
All right, we'll do the. Wait, did you say negative PM or management?
Either one. Either negative PM or horrible management.
I want to do horrible management. Let's do that.
All right, let's do that.
All right, everyone. We'll start at 5:10 or 7:10 if you're watching on the East Coast. Thank you for sticking with us. No, this is a little bit of a late start, but that's okay. We'll be okay. could be a short show. That way, Blake will have a minute to think about his one more thing. And let's see here. Yeah, how'd your office hours go, Blake?
They were fine. I mean, I created, I guess, a video template, so that was nice. That made cutting things up pretty simple. Yeah, nothing too crazy. I definitely crashed my setup for Next.js for my portfolio, so that was interesting to figure out offline later.
Oh, boy.
Overall, pretty good. Yeah.
Oh, boy.
It was fun. I enjoyed it anyway. How was yours this week?
It was a slow.
I didn't make it to yours on Tuesday.
That's okay. It was a slow news cycle. I found it really hard to find some news stories. I think there were some good ones in there, but a lot of them were a struggle to get through. So hopefully, hopefully next week will be better. All right. Let's see. 507. Oh, hey, by the way, if you, and this is completely not true for anyone watching, but if you Google like Human Factors Cast net worth or something, it comes up with it comes up and says that we've done $3 million in revenue. That's absolutely not true.
Yeah, if we have, I don't know where Nick's hiding it, because that's hilarious. 3 million. Although those are known to be kind of faulty, because there's a couple of people who have recently talked about like their guitarists or like recording producers and their like net worth or how much they've made is not accurate at all. So it's kind of funny. Let's see physical.
I don't even know what I searched to find that. It's like it's a weird thing. Okay.
So Nick, I know you did research for the Patreon question. Did you think about putting them in touch with the ergonomic specialists we know?
Actually, I got those resources from that ergonomic specialist we know.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. Woodrow's a pro.
That's
awesome. Yeah, because that's not something I've ever touched in my entire career. Mainly because I've never done any ergonomics. So it'd be interesting to know what his take on it, but already since you do, that's good.
Yep, we are good there. Did my due diligence. Let's see here. Thanks for sticking with us. Okay, well, why don't we take like a minute to regroup, and then we'll be right back and we'll start the show. Blake, you want to just go ahead and hit record on 30, and we'll see if the computer holds up. And if not, we'll just grab the audio some other way.
Yep. All right, let's go.
All right. We'll be back in 1 minute. Thanks, everyone. Hey, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Human Factors Cast. This is episode 202. We're recording this live on April 15th, 2021. I'm your host, Nick Roome. I'm joined by my good friend and yours, Mr. Blake Arnsdorff.
Oh, it's good to be here, Nick. How's everything going, man?
Everything's going just great. Hey, I got some programming notes and some community updates here before we get into the actual show tonight. I want to go over it. Elise and I have been doing some healthcare symposium coverage this week. If you're listening on the podcast feed, you will have noticed there's an extra episode in your podcatcher this week. We did a preview of what we were hoping to attend this week. We'll be back later this week to do a kind of recap of the event tomorrow, which is Friday for anyone who's listening now, and Friday for anyone who's listening later. We've done it, so it might already be in your feed. I don't know. But it already may be out there. Speaking of conferences, there's one more conference coming up here that I do want to make sure everyone's aware of. There's the Chartered Institute of Ergonomics and Human Factors. Their conference is next week. It's going to be from April, 6th, 19th through the 21st. It's 3 days. If anyone who's listening to the show is going to either, please send us a voicemail about your experience. We'd love to hear from you. You can go to our website, humanfactorscast.media. Click on the microphone at the bottom right of the page, and we'll play it on the show. So it'll be fun. If anyone's listening and anyone has gone to either of these events, please, leave us a voicemail. We'd love to hear from you. Blake, you've been working on something. You've been cooking something up.
Yeah, so in the background of recording the podcast, we've been cooking up, taking out the Reddit questions and basically putting them up as Q&A sections of each Reddit question we answer from the week on our YouTube channel. So again, this is not really to replace being able to listen to the podcast or see us live. It's just more of a kind of streamlined way to be able to get some of the advice that we're putting out there in a really easy and digestible format through YouTube. And this was a nice kind of suggestion from one of our listeners prior. So it's a cool way for us to kind of both, enjoy doing the podcast, have the longer format, but also provide, quick pieces of content that people can go through.
Yeah, a hot listener request. We got multiple requests for that, so it'll be good to kind of make good on that promise. I don't know. Anyway, all right, we know why you're here. Let's get into it. Human Factors News. Yes, this is a part of the show all about Human Factors News. This is where we talk about everything related to the field of, you guessed it, human factors. This could be anything, robotics, AI, transportation, you name it. As long as it relates to the field of human factors, it is fair game for Blake and I to sit here and BS about. Blake, what do we have up this week?
This week, we're diving deep into BCIs, or brain-computer interfaces, something we haven't talked about in a while, I feel like. But so in an important step forward to fully implanting intracortical brain-computer interface systems, BrainGate researchers have demonstrated the first human use of a wireless transmitter capable of delivering high-bandwidth neural signals. So BCIs are an emerging assistive technology, enabling people with paralysis to type on computer screens or manipulate robotic prostheses just by thinking about them and moving their own bodies. And for years, investigational BCIs have been used in clinical trials to require cables and lots of management of cables to be able to reach and sense what your brain is thinking and transmit that to a computer to help you decode it, even into an external hard drive. But now, for the first time, BrainGate's clinical trial participants with tetraplegia have demonstrated the use of an intracortical wireless BCI with an external wireless transmitter. So the system is capable of transmitting brain signals at single neuronal resolution and with full broadband fidelity without physically tethering the user to a decoding system. And for the study published, the two clinical trial participants with paralysis used the BrainGate system with a wireless transmitter to point and click and type on a standard tablet computer. Study showed that the wireless transmission system uses signals with virtually the same fidelity as wired systems, which is huge, and participants achieved a similar point-and-click accuracy when challenged in their typing speeds. So, Nick, this feels really ironic to me because I was just interacting with somebody else who was asking about the podcast, and something that we had done on episode 200 had sparked their interest in motor impediments and how BCIs were connected. And now we have a study that's kind of taking things away from the research lab in terms of only really focusing on tethered units and now improving the technology in a research setting. So this is pretty awesome to see this far into the future.
Yeah, so there's a lot to unpack here. I honestly don't know where to start here. So let's just start at the top. This is a wireless brain-computer interface that a human has tried for the first time. That is the title of this episode. You can see it. That's what's going on here. And I am struggling to find where to start with the human factors application. As soon as I saw this episode, this news story, I immediately knew it was content rich for us to sit here and talk about. So let's, I guess, I can just start talking about some of user needs as it relates to brain-computer interfaces, right? So if you think about sort of these user-centered design considerations for brain-computer interfaces, you need to have there's a lot of things to think about, right? Starting with the person's well-being as they are using a brain-computer interface, right? They need to be able to it needs to be accessible. They need to be able to not trip over themselves with all these wires that a traditional BCI has. They need to think about the space organization, ergonomic assessment of all this stuff. And there's also things that you have to consider, like safety. There's, being able to use this in a daily life. There's reliability, maintainability, functionality of this thing. Basically, there's a lot going on with this. And I'm really struggling at where to start with breaking this all down. I'm just kind of rambling right now. Well, I don't know, Blake, where do you want to start?
So I think one of the coolest places, and one that I was concerned about from like the end user perspective, because like you talked about, a big one about this is ergonomic concerns. So somebody having to be basically tethered almost in place in some cases, as we've seen in the past, with the amount of like cords and different things you would have to be hooked up to. But I was worried with the title that it's promoting a high bandwidth, right? So what does that really mean? Does that mean you can do stuff that in a similar fidelity as you were able to when things were hardwired in? And that was really my major concern, because it looks like, yes, they've eliminated some of the hardwiring aspects of it that would be, probably a little bit cumbersome for you to move around, if you will, if you're dealing with a prosthesis on top of this or anything like that. So really they have dealt with kind of the functional controlling your space aspect of it. But what did that really mean when it came to actually performing these functions? So being able to, in this case, type on something and, accurately point and click and use stuff. And so from the end user side, I was worried about what this fidelity was going to be like. Was this kind of like when you deal with UAS, when we deal with that transition of information between the flying unit and the pilot, you have to worry about that latency between where you're bouncing your signals off from. So I imagined, even though we're dealing with a much closer space, what does that look like for an end user in this case? And for us, and for this study, it seems like they were able to actually keep that fidelity pretty high, like probably better than even my internet's bandwidth kind of stays up throughout the podcast, which really blew my mind, because that means there's a lot of engineering that's obviously gone in the background of this, but obviously it's going to provide a much better experience for somebody who's now, although they have some kind of unit that is working with their brain and on top of their head, they probably don't have that kind of like head tilt that's caused by a lot of cabling behind you or anything like that. So I just think it's awesome that it's able to provide the same level of kind of efficiency in terms of you being able to do similar things that you were able to when you were hardwired in, if you will. And now you're kind of giving a little bit more freedom, and potentially the application being that more people can have this stuff. Because if you're not, hardwired to a specific unit in your house, or you're not hardwired up to something that has to be maintained, if you have a wireless unit, it can just be used at any time. So it's really cool to see how far this has come. Now, in terms of where this goes from here, because again, we're dealing with a pretty localized study, and this is only going to, the technology side of it will only grow a little bit more. But I think one thing that I always wonder about is what's the application from here, because this is obviously focused very, very locally on clinical trials, but I feel like this has wide-reaching implications, right, outside of just even the clinical setting, like getting BCIs to be a more traditional form of communication or whatever it may be.
Yeah, if we think about application, right, there's a lot of different things that we can do with BCIs. It can almost be an augmented way to interact with the environment, right? I think that's what Neuralink is trying to do, is they're trying to tap into the brain to read it passively and kind of understand intent, right? It's not the read-write function, it's the read function. And so if you could interact with your computer by clicking with your mind rather than with your mouse, you would have less issues, because then you can just send it directly to where it needs to go and not have to track with your hand and your mouse. And if the system understands those inputs, right, then there's going to be less user error in the long term. Now, that's a very simplistic application of this type of thing, and is something that could be accomplished in the near term. I can see a lot more application when you start looking further out in the future, when we have things like BCIs and assisted living, where maybe somebody's sitting in their hospital bed and they need to communicate something. Maybe they can't verbalize, or maybe they've fallen and they can't get up, and they need to notify assisted living staff that, hey, I need help, or they need to communicate some complex thing to a caregiver. I can see that as one application. I can also see another application where this could augment, pilots or something to that degree, where there's like this passive monitoring going on with attention. And if a pilot lapses in attention, maybe something, gets their attention in the cockpit to where they are able to see it and kind of maintain vigilance as they're doing some of these tasks. Again, that's very long term in the way far future, but I can see those as some of the application areas. What do you think, Blake? What applications can you see for this?
I feel like, based on what we talked about last week, that we talked a little bit about augmented reality and how do you make it real, and how do you start to immerse people inside of it. Well, even if we think about like the VR aspect of things, like what if you were able to like provide through a BCI a much more immersive experience by, basically being able to pass neuronal signals to different parts of your body to help you feel like something was more real. Now that's a far-reaching kind of application here, but I feel like that's like the however best is to put it, like the Elon Musk fear of what a BCI will be and what AI can eventually be. It's kind of more of providing you different inputs depending on the environment or the thing that you're doing. And so I could see that in the, decades long time of being a true application. Now, I think the big one that I'm excited about is this integration between, okay, great, now we're taking BCIs that are wireless and we're able to, basically pull in signals from people's brains, transmit them into something that's completely, useful for them, gives them much more mobility. But now let's add that to on top of, exoskeletons, he says. And that's kind of the connection that I'm really excited about to see, because I've seen a lot of, like, not a lot of it is promo right now, but I've seen a lot of I can't remember the company's name, but it's very futuristic looking prosthetics that have a lot of functionality in them, but I know that they're based off of, very rudimentary programming. Now, if we can implement something like that in combination with a BCI, imagine giving people not only like their ability to communicate, but maybe they have much more mobility than they've ever had or have had in years, especially since a lot of the target here is an older population. And I think some of the research that's done here is actually done with some of the VA hospitals in wherever Brown is. So that's my kind of like exciting point, is because there's a lot of work being done on the neuroergonomic side with prosthetics, and now we're really diving deep into the application of a BCI.
Yeah, I think that's great. I love that your mind immediately went to the read-write function, because I'm still stuck in read, right? My applications were both read, and you went straight to read-write. You were like, well, how can we write to the brain to make something feel more real, or to provide that feedback? Like if you were in an assistive prosthetic, or if you had an assisted prosthetic or an exoskeleton and you needed feedback from those devices, you could wire that straight up to the brain. I love that application. So let's talk. I want to talk again about the human factors bits of this, right? And what this wireless solution really solves, and why it's such a big deal. So I think of two things when I think of the user, right? I think immediately of like user comfort with a device, because that's very important. And then not only the physical comfort of having something hooked into your brain, but also the mental comfort of having it there as well, right? So you're thinking about, how easy is it for this device to read your intent? What is the user's kind of mindset here? And sort of what do the users focus on as they're using this device? Are they focused on the actual interaction itself, or are they focused on this thing that is kind of behind them, right? I guess the question is, does this solve that problem? I don't know. But I think it goes a long way where you don't have the less invasive something feels, where, now you don't have all these wires and tubes hooked up to somebody. Now it's completely wireless. There's going to be less resistance to feeling uncomfortable. You're going to feel less uncomfortable. You get my point here. It's going to be easier for the user to ultimately mesh with that device. And that goes for both user comfort and user mental comfort, right? So I'm thinking about it from that perspective. But then also, how does this sort of then the other human factors application is like, well, how does this interface with their everyday life, right? And we talked about some applications. I think we've kind of covered that. But the more interesting thing to me is how usable is this right now? And we've talked about, well, down the line, these things might be possible, but is this type of interface usable, right? And what kind of heuristics or design considerations do you have to take into account for a BCI? And I don't know if wireless necessarily has anything to do with that inherently. However, there is the latency issue, right? If things are or do take a long time to communicate the operator's intent to the system, then it's going to provide a non-usable system, or something that is less than usable, if you will, right? So those are the types of application, or not applications. Those are the type of human factors slices that I'm thinking about this in terms of. Are there any other human factors applications that you can think of here, Blake?
No, I do think there's some implication here, though, for where BCIs are at today in the story that we're talking about, and kind of some of the ideas that we've thrown out there for the future. The biggest part being with this wireless system, I think you hit the nail on the head. The biggest overcoming point there is basically user comfort. Like, because in the studies we're talking about typing, pointing, and clicking, like very far from these farther reaching things that we've gone on about, whether it's like aiding pilots or, allowing you to feel different things in a virtual environment. So this is kind of the starting block, if you will. But I think what is nice about the study we're looking at and the technology we're looking at on top of it is it has taken away a lot of that potential discomfort and potential user distraction of I've got like a matrix setup coming out of the back of my head, or it just feels weird, and so I can't even focus on the task that I'm being kind of tested to do. Although, of course, this system I think is very at the beginning stages. It probably still would take a lot of getting used to, because if for those that are not watching or haven't read the article, like it basically puts a transistor and a receiver on your head. Now they're not as insane sounding as that is, but they're pretty big chunks of plastic that are kind of screwed onto a transistor. But the big thing here is this to remember is this is definitely the beginning stages of research, because even in the article they talk about, although they're diving into this wireless application, and a lot of the rationale there is so that people can do this, take it home, they can do longitudinal studies, because we still don't really understand neural signals and how they evolve over time. So really we have to continue almost taking this first step, getting the technology to a place where you can take it home, you can have it at home, and people in labs or in different companies can analyze what the signals are actually doing to help you kind of create something more utilitarian, or do something like almost be life alert, but through your brain, like you had mentioned, Nick. But the biggest thing is now we have to really just allow for the time to happen, so that people can start analyzing like, okay, what what can we take these neuronal signals and do outside of the things we're able to do now? And what does that really look like?
Yeah. One last application that I can think of, or human factors application here, is kind of the safety aspect of this, right? And we've kind of mentioned, obviously the story is being disconnected from tubes and wires to your face. And so, like when you think about safety, there's a couple things going on here, right? There's obviously safety issues going on with the BCI itself, right? Is it going to hurt the operator because it is wired into a very sensitive part of the body? So there's that to deal with, but the more obvious thing I think to me is the sort of like OSHA side of things, right? Is this going to be without wires, you are less likely to accidentally hurt yourself by running to the end of the tether. You are also, I mean, that won't even happen, right? Your input just won't get read by the distance if it's too great. And then there's also, the you won't trip over it, any of that stuff. And it will help with some of the physical side of things. I don't know how much wireless will sort of impact some of the other safety considerations like errors and unintentional mistakes, poor judgment, decision making, that type of thing, disregard for procedures, that type of stuff. I don't know how much it'll impact that type of thing, but at least the physical safety, I can definitely see a huge benefit to being wireless, right?
Absolutely, yeah. The part of this study that's so the study itself is remarkable, right? Because we're talking again about BCIs being wireless, allowing you to basically translate neuronal signals to doing actions. But because of COVID-19, the continued studies on these kind of things were going to be zero. But because people were actually able to do this wireless technology and use it, basically the way that it happened is they trained caregivers over internet calls to be able to help the person who had the BCI actually transmit data from home. So a lot of this stuff was done inside of the home. So the safety aspect that I was considering is like, okay, what does this look like outside of the lab? Or what does it look like when you're at home by yourself or a caregiver's around? Because there's that extra training aspect now of potentially you have nurses who visit homes or anybody that works in a nursing home. Potentially a BCI has become a bigger thing in the next however long. That kind of adds a different skill set. Now you're interfacing with a different type of technology that has potentially a pretty intense impact if things go wrong or things are not working correctly. So the safety aspect, Nick, is 100% a big one that I think it'll have far-reaching implications, not just for the person who's using it, but the companies who develop them, and then how do you basically train others to be able to know how to use them if it's not you yourself that has the BCI.
Yeah, I love this story. I think it was a great pick. Do you have anything else to add to this before we head out?
No, this is just awesome. Brown's doing some cool work with basically neuroscience plus everything else we have to deal with in terms of security, safety, end user experience. It's just a really cool story.
Yeah, thank you to our patrons this week for selecting the topic, and thank you to our friends over at Brown University for our news stories this week. If you want to follow along, we do post links to the original articles in our chat community, Slack and Discord, as we find them, and it's in this like little nice, concise news roundup that I've been doing during my office hours, so you can check that out. We're going to take a quick break, and then we'll see what's going on with the human factors community right after this. All right, and we're back. A huge thank you, as always, to our patrons, and especially our honorary Human Factors cast staff. Michelle, Tripp, patrons like you keep the show running, and thank you all so much for your continued support. Blake, I do want to mention something. If you want to support us, but not through Patreon, there's something else you can do. We do have a merchandise store, and I and I want to bring up a couple designs, man. So we have an It Depends shirt. You saw it, and now it's bigger and better. It kind of takes up the full space now. I think I was the only one that bought the smaller font, so no one missed out on that. I'm really proud of this next one, man. So we have a joke, I guess, internally about this 1-star review that we got where this person said, like, so, like, you like, and like, so, as the title of the review. And they referred to us as sophomoric bros, and us representing human factors in a profession is truly terrifying. So we have actually turned that review into a shirt, and we're going to own it. We love that review. It's our best review out there.
So it's funny to think about, like, especially since that came up after episode 200. It's like we're still doing this 200 episodes later, and we stay even after that really rough 1-star review.
Yeah,
I'll never forget the day you sent that to me in a text as well. I thought I was gonna die laughing because it was just so tough to read.
It was back in 2019, so but it's something that we have always kind of joked about internally. We also have a couple other designs up there, so please go check out the store if you want to support the show without actually, there's more than just the stuff that we talked about here, so go check it out. We're always throwing new designs up there. So why don't we go ahead and switch gears and get into this next part of the show we like to call It Came from Reddit. Yes, this is the part of the show. Well, actually, hold on. Not just Reddit this week. We got stuff from all over. This is the part of the show where we search all over the internet to bring you topics the community is talking about. So we actually do have one of our patrons has submitted a question for us. This is from Michelle Tripp, our honorary Human Factors cast staff. She writes, "Hi all, I have a question for you. I've been interested in evaluating the user experience of places like malls, airports, train stations, bus stations, etc. I've been researching different human factors engineering tools and principles that I can use to create a heuristic evaluation report for each place I visit. Most of the principles I've seen researching are about digital and physical products, but are there any principles that are specifically for spaces and places?" So we're talking about like heuristics for spaces and places. Blake, do you know of any heuristics for spaces and places?
So funny enough, Nick brought this up earlier on, and I do not. I am not big on physical design, although that may change here in the future. But one thing that I did find is a Chi paper that actually goes over developing and taking HCI principles, so stuff that you would typically see in those digital spaces, and applying it to a physical space and creating social interaction. And in some of those places that you're mentioning, this framework might be helpful to go over and just read their thoughts on translating some of the best practices from what you may know is usability heuristics or stuff that you would know is HCI guidelines and translating that into physical products. But I don't know like great standards or specifics for this kind of stuff. And I'm quite interested in what Nick has to follow up with this stuff for. But Nick, so what do you really have that is good for trying to tackle some of these problems or understand a physical space?
Okay, I have two answers. One is not really an answer to the heuristics question. One is an answer to that question. So what I have is there's I would imagine a good starting point for spaces and places is to take a look at standards. These are not heuristics in the sense that there are very specific standards that a lot of places have to adhere to, especially when it comes to something like OSHA, right? I mean, if you look at the OSHA regulations for spaces, they cover everything from like walking and working surfaces to exit routes, powered platforms, man lifts, occupational health and environmental control, hazardous materials, personal protective equipment, fire protection, materials handling and storage. There's a lot of stuff that goes into these standards. How do you condense that down into heuristics? I don't know. I'm sure somebody has done it, but the second answer I have is sort of the principles of universal design. And these are almost like system or space or place agnostic. If you think about what makes something usable, you have equitable use, flexibility in use, simple and intuitive use, perceptible information, tolerance for error, low physical effort, size and space for approach and use. So those are the 7 principles of universal design. And if you think about those heuristics as it relates to spaces and places, that might be a good place to start. I know it's not quite the answer you were looking for, but I think there's a lot there that you can dig into. There's a resource that I have from, I think it's UX Matters. So I'll post that in the show description below. I'll also post that OSHA standard I mentioned as well for anyone who's interested in these types of things. But, thinking about that universal heuristic or that universal design heuristics, right? You can think about equitable use in the sense of user control and freedom, aesthetic, minimalistic design, and how those apply to the physical environment as well, right? There's a lot of those, there's a lot of the usability heuristics that actually might matter from the perspective of spaces and places. Now, I will say there's a lot of good information here. Maybe not all of them map to the physical space, but there is a good chance that most of them will. We're taking a quick pause because Blake dropped. Be back shortly. That means I'll have more editing to do. And that's okay. That's okay. Hopefully Blake will be able to join us again. Let's see here. I'm gonna keep my recording going. Otherwise I'll forget. Looks like Blake is back in the document. He will probably join us shortly. Thank you for sticking with us, everyone, in these this technical difficulty that Blake mentioned that this might happen. So we'll see where he's at here in a minute. But we are going to keep going here. This is what you get with live. Hang on. There he is. And he's back.
Massive technical difficulties. Hilarious. Sorry, everybody, but I'm back anyway.
Are you still recording?
Yeah, surprisingly. I don't know how.
Great.
But I am.
Okay. So I finished up the principles of universal design. I'm going to pass it over to you in just a second here. I'm going to give it a couple seconds if you have anything else to add. Okay.
Awesome. Sounds good.
All right. All right. Is there anything else you want to add to that, Blake?
I don't, Nick. I'm really stoked to check out these universal principles, though, because that's not something I'm super familiar with or have heard of. And I hope that that this is actually useful to our Patreon who asked the questions. And I would love to know how they plan to apply it or what they uncover as they go through the journey of understanding physical space design.
Yeah, we'll have to follow up for sure. All right. We have 2 more. Why don't we do this next one here? So this one is how to remain connected with a mentor. Blake, you're a mentor yourself. I would love to hear your perspective on this. This is from The Real Izzy on the user experience subreddit. I contacted a mentor several months ago to have a quick meeting and ask about their advice. I really liked their expertise and personality. It is awkward to ask them, can you be my mentor? So I just asked after the call if I can contact them for future advice, and they agreed. I messaged them a few times about my portfolio, but that's it. I'm at an early stage of my career and at a new country by myself and need some mentorship and advice. I don't know how to stay connected and develop a mentorship connection. Would it be better to ask them to have a monthly call? Blake, how would you handle this situation, both from the person who wants the mentor and from the mentor perspective?
Yeah, so this came into my inbox the other day, and I thought a lot about it. So I don't know. Hopefully, this is helpful. The biggest thing that I'm seeing here is it just might be that you weren't clear enough up front with this particular mentor, if you will, that's what you're looking for. It sounds like, although it's an awkward conversation to have, I think it's better to have it than not, to set expectations of what you're looking for from a specific relationship here. Because it sounds like you talked to them one time, that you had mentioned that you would follow up with them about like portfolio feedback or if that was okay. And most people will often say yes, and they genuinely mean it. But like most people right now who are at a senior or mid to senior level in UX, they do have a lot that may be going on, whether it's work, extra mentorship they're doing with other people, both inside a company and on their own free time. So people, unfortunately, just get busy, and it's hard to stay on top of all of your obligations as well as like keep in contact with everyone. So from this person's perspective, I would say the best thing you can do is look for and be kind of upfront with somebody about, this is really what you're looking for. I'm looking for mentorship throughout my career. I don't really want this to be like a once and again thing. I would rather do like either something monthly or something every couple of weeks, to either talk about my portfolio, stuff going on at work, advice, that kind of stuff. So that way you're setting the stage. Also, and I'm not going to plug any of the stuff that I do because I don't feel like that's right here, but there are a lot of services, both paid and free, that offer you an ability to find mentorship in user experience design, especially. I wish I could remember this guy's name. The last kind of thing from the mentee perspective, there is a really cool user experience designer and very like guy that's worked at, I think it's Instagram and Microsoft, and he now works as a senior designer at Facebook. There is a lot of stuff that he puts out on his LinkedIn for free that I will find and put in our show notes. But basically, checking out LinkedIn, looking for mentors that way is another great thing. Because again, user experience and human factors, there's a lot of people out there that want to help those earlier in their career figure out their way forward and what they should be doing to kind of build their career or what trajectory they want to take. So I think that handles it from the mentee side. Nick, do you have anything that you wanted to touch on there?
Yeah, so I'm thinking about this from the perspective of the person writing this post. Let's start there, right? So the question is, how do I get back in this person's on this person's radar, right? I think the strategy here is to reach out and say something along the lines of, hey, I really appreciated the feedback that you gave me. I would really like it if, we could meet a little bit more regularly. And honestly, just explain what you just posted here in this subreddit, right? Like, I'm in a new country. I'm by myself. I need some mentorship and advice. And I really liked what, we talked about last time. Is there any way that you can spare a little time for me each month to chat through some of the stuff I'm working on? And I think that would be the approach, right? I think honesty is key there, because people are humans and they can see when another human needs help. Unless you're heartless, then in that case, it's not going to be a good time. And it's almost a benefit for you if they say no to that, because then it's not meant to be. The only thing you have to lose is, I wouldn't even say it's a burnt bridge between this person, but you have more information on this person if they say no. If they say yes, you have everything to gain. So yes, I would just reach back out to them and say, absolutely. Now, when it comes to that mentor's perspective, if I was going along and I had somebody reach out to me once, and they weren't quite clear about their intentions, that's like no big deal for somebody like me. It's like, oh, they actually did want more mentorship. That's fine. But again, Blake and I are a little different in that regard. We really like that aspect of it. And so, from my perspective, if somebody were to come up to me and say, hey, you know what, like, I really appreciated the conversation we had. Would you mind chatting with me some other time? I'd absolutely make the time to do that. I think, from a mentor perspective, it's kind of dumb to not do that, because you are making a connection that could someday be valuable to you. And, if you think about it from that perspective, and if you're a robot and don't think about humans having needs, then that's another perspective that you can think about and have it be meaningful to you in some capacity. But you should think about them as a human and that they are in need, and that you at some point were early in your career and got advice from somebody else. So that's where I'm coming from. Anything else, Blake?
No, I think that covers it.
All right. We have one more here. This one's going to be fun. Is my manager that horrible? This is from Susie XO on the user experience subreddit again. I recently started a new job as a UX or UI designer, and am not sure if I'm overreacting because I'm not interested in the industry, or if my manager is really horrible. I'm the only designer on the team, and my manager assigns me tasks. I'm an organized person, so I need to know what I'll be working on for the week in advance. I've been getting tasks during the day, and my manager has zero design experience, will call me, want me to share the screen, and will complain about the colors and icons. She recently wanted me to make changes on the project while we're on the call, and she sees me making the changes. There is no user testing in the process. She also calls me for a 30-minute meeting, but ends up being more than an hour, and every time I show the design, she will ask for new changes. Last week, she told me to work on the final changes for Friday and send the screens in an email. However, she suddenly assigned me a task of changing another screen as well, so obviously this will take more time. I then contacted her and said that I will be able to submit everything on Monday rather than Friday, and her response was a passive-aggressive, is this normal, or am I right in my reaction? There's a lot to unpack there. I think if you think about this from the design perspective, there's that perspective, but I'm thinking about this from the human factors perspective as well. What do you do in a case where there is a person above you that does not take the things that you are doing at face value, and they feel like they need to have control over it? Blake, I'm going to pass this over to you.
Yeah, so I mean, regardless of who you are or even what job you work, I think there's a couple of things you can take away from a situation like this. And the biggest one being, I don't think this is absolutely a normal set of things you should be experiencing, no matter what, if you're human factors, if you're a developer, if you're a designer. Although it does seem to happen a lot when you end up in these sole positions where, like, you have a manager and you're the only human factors person, user experience designer, whatever it is, where you end up with kind of an inefficiency in how the process is run. And I think the biggest thing that I'm seeing here is I would be careful in this person's shoes, because if they're, like we talked about kind of last week, if they're feeling this, I'm not even interested in the industry anymore, that's not a good sign. And I don't really think that's necessarily your fault. I think there's a lot of tough stuff going on here from your management perspective. The biggest thing I would say that you could do is you probably need to set some boundaries with this person. And that would be having the tough conversations about, these are the things that I am experiencing at work, up to the fact that you're not getting clear tasking. Tasking comes kind of at the last minute, and then there's no clear design process that you feel like is being executed. Now, from the design side, Nick, you can talk from the HF side in a moment, but the big thing here that I would keep in mind if you're the sole designer, it becomes your job to put that design process in place and to be an advocate for it. You can't just expect that a company's going to know what to do with a designer and that they're just going to have some process in place, especially if you're the only person doing the job. So the more that you can try and define and set up a process and really get invested in the work that you're doing, I think the better off you're going to be, and the more control you're going to have over your tasking and things that need to get done, leaving less time for your PM to be assigning you things or giving you random tasks, because you already know all those steps need to be executed. Now, the portion that does bother me here is the amount of feedback that you're getting that doesn't sound like, at least from this post, that there is a lot of rationale for why. There's a lot of opinions potentially being thrown at you for things that you need to change. And I would say here, again, this is in some ways normal, but you have to be able to kind of fight for your designs, if you will, or fight for your work. Give rationale for why you put something together the way that you did. Why did you design it in such a way, colors that you used, whatever it might be that you're kind of going back and forth with the person over. So it does sound like this person is a little bit of a tough PM and could use a little bit of your help to understand the situation as it is for you. so that you can both work together to come to a good solution at the end of it. Doesn't mean that that'll happen, but you kind of have to do your due diligence on your side to try and create a better environment for yourself. But Nick, what would you do in this situation?
Okay. There's a lot to unpack here. I'm going to answer the question at the top. Is my manager that horrible? Yes. Key attributes of a good manager. 1, constructive feedback. 2, appreciates and understands their employees' skill set and pairs them up appropriately. This is an inappropriate relationship with their employee because it does not exude trust. It is a micromanagement aspect that really shows a lack of understanding of what this person is aiming to do in their role. Blake, I think you said a lot there for setting up these clear boundaries when it comes to this person's role in this company. I think this is a delicate situation to navigate here, especially when you're trying to explain to the person who is not being that great that you need them to back off a little bit. I think there might be something larger here with them not having any design experience or really any experience, regardless of the profession, right? If some sort of manager is coming after your work, I think, you owe it to them to explain your process and how you got to that point, and kind of prove them wrong. Why are the things that they're doing, complaining about colors, complaining about icons? Why are they doing that? There's 2 reasons they could. 1, they don't understand the reason why you incorporated certain things. 2, you may not have done your due diligence and they might actually have a point. I'm not saying it's the second one. I'm saying that's a possibility. So introspect a little bit and see it there. I'm highly suspecting that it's the first one there, where they just want to feel like they're part of the design process. And so another thing you can do is include them in that process. Set up a meeting with them and say, hey, look, I'm thinking about this or this, and give them the choice to make that final call. And that way that'll give them a little bit more ownership over the product when, ultimately the design comes down, the final design. And I think that's true for a lot of things. If you can incorporate people into your process, I think it goes a long way for making others feel that ownership. And that's in human factors too, right? If you can explain, hey, there's a user interview going on. I would love for you to watch what this is like on a camera. Don't be in the room with me. I'd love for you to watch what this is like. Then people will feel more invested in the thing that you do and understand the value that you bring to the team. That's where I'm at with this. Blake, anything else to add?
Yeah, the only other thing that I would really suggest is trying to see if you can take a little bit of control of the meeting structure. Because if there's no structure that exists, try putting one in. Put a 15-minute stand-up in on Mondays. Like add in, design kind of sprints, if you will, for when they know they're going to meet with you. Because again, like Nick's mentioned, this seems like somebody who seems nervous about the product and is overbearing. So if you kind of try and implement a structure in there, it may also help you a little bit. But who knows? Maybe this person's just not meant to be a PM.
Yeah, I agree. All right, we got one more thing. So this is the part of the show formerly known as banter. So Blake, what do you have for one more thing?
Man, one more thing. I really don't have a whole lot one more thing wise. The one thing that I've been really focusing on in the past couple of weeks that's been more interesting to me from the just learning skill wise has been trying to incorporate a lot more meditation into my daily life, because I feel like with this news cycle, although I've enjoyed working remotely because it provides me a lot of freedom, it also provides me the freedom to get up right out of bed and get on my laptop. And so building in these kind of like times of either meditation or staying away from technology for specific hours of the day has been super beneficial just to my mental health and how I'm approaching any kind of situation, whether it's at work, if it's playing guitar, if it's interacting with my dog, girlfriend. So it's been a fun practice to kind of get back into, as well as kind of like limiting when I can touch my phone in the morning, like an hour and a half after I get up, or can't touch it an hour and a half before I go back to bed. But yeah, so that's something I've been experimenting, sticking back into my life, and it's been a fun time for sure. Feeling a lot more energized. How about you, man? What's been going on?
Good. I'm glad you're finding time for yourself. So I have also been trying to find time for myself in a different way. My child is at the age where he loves listening to us read the same book over and over and over again, to the point where he will get frustrated with us if we do not read it. Now, here's a little parenting hack for anyone. I thought about this because I was like, man, if only I could just record. Oh, wait, I can record it. So I recorded these, and maybe we'll put this in the post show. But I recorded a book several books for my son. So whenever he comes up to me and says, hey, read this book, I can actually just pull out my phone and play it. It's kind of hysterical. And so, I don't do it all the time, but when he just wants to read the same book over and over and over again, I'll usually read it the first time and then just kind of hit play. But, I went all out. I did all the voices, the Elmo, the Grover, the Cookie Monster. I did all of them. So like, it's good stuff. If you're listening, you should check out the post show.
Excellent. Now that's a funny one, man. So does he get the same kind of gratification from hearing the story recorded versus you doing it live?
I mean, he's what's the word I'm looking for? He's advanced enough to understand that there's a certain pace to books, and he will try to keep pace with the recording, which is really interesting to watch because it doesn't always line up, but he knows roughly based on where you're at in the story where it should be. And so it satisfies the need. If he hears me reading the thing on the recording with all the voices and everything, he understands that it's me reading, not live, but he can follow along with it and understand where we're at in the book. So yeah, that's my one more thing.
That's pretty cool, man. Nice one.
All right, well, that's going to be it for today, everyone. Let us know what you guys think of the news story this week. You can hang out with us on our Slack or Discord, or get to us on any of our social channels. You can visit our official website, humanfactorscast.media, and sign up for our newsletter to stay up to date with all the latest Human Factors news. If you like what you hear, you want to support the show, there's a couple things you can do. One, it's completely free for you. You can leave us a 5-star review on your podcast medium of choice. If your podcast medium of choice doesn't do it, just leave it on our website. 2, you can tell your friends about us. That really helps the show grow. Having other people tell people that the show is good does something. I don't know. 3, if you're financially able, consider supporting us on Patreon. That's all I'm going to say about that. And as always, links to all of our socials and our website is in the description of this episode. I want to thank Mr. Blake Arnsdorff for hanging out on our show today. Where can our listeners go and find you if they want to talk about brain-computer interfaces?
Y'all, you can come and hang out with me every Sunday at 9:30 PST at twitch.tv/humanfactorscast. That's a good place to ask me any questions that you had from the show about UX, about human factors, whatever it may be. But if you want to get in touch with me and just shoot me an email or leave me a comment or a DM, you can find me at Don't Panic UX.
As for me, I've been your host, Nick Roome. You can find me across social media at Nick_Roome. Thanks again for tuning into Human Factors Cast. Until next time, it depends.
It depends.
All right. We can stop recording there. And I'm going to save this real quick. So let's go ahead and export this to MP3.
Let's see what this is. I have to hear this because this thing.
202. Yeah.
All right.
One sec, Blake. All you.
All right. Let's go. I hope everybody enjoyed the show this evening. Or this afternoon, really. It's not really that late. Depends on where you are, because I know if it was on the East Coast, it's a good bit later. Here in California, it's only, 6 p.m. But those brain-computer interface problems are very, I don't know, they feel like they have so much impact for just an insane technology to me. That came up in a like an email I got from one of the services I work for. Like, what do you even do with BCIs? When's that going to be an available technology? And to have it come up on the show again, and that it's getting just that little bit closer. It's just a cool time that we live in.
Little bit closer. All right, here. I actually have a special guest somewhere right there. There he is. He's a special guest. I'm going to actually play the thing I was talking about here. Here we go. Hang on. I think this is the one with all the voices. So we're going to go ahead and
Sesame Street.
Yeah.
It's time for bed on Sesame Street. But Elmo just can't get to sleep. He's counted sheep from 1 to 10 and then back down to 1 again. But still he sits with open eyes and looks out at the starry skies. So now let's sing a special song to help him sleep the whole night long.
Not a fan today.
Good night. Sleep tight. Don't let the twiddlebug steal the blanket tonight. End the day with a bedtime treat. Something tasty, something sweet. Take a bath with your favorite toy, with bubbles that you'll both enjoy. Now you're warm and dry. Just right.
My impressions are
Brush
terrible.
your teeth all clean and white.
I love
Pull on your jammies, the coziest pair. At bedtime, they're the thing to wear.
Okay, I'm proud of the Grover.
That's pretty
Okay.
good.
You
I
will
have to
see
say.
all the things that you can be.
That's Zoe. For anyone who's like familiar with the Sesame
Find a
Street lore,
star, make a wish.
that's Abby.
A bike, a book, perhaps a fish. Now pull the covers up to your chin. Look at that, you're all tucked in. Start at 5 and count to 1. Turn out the lights when you are done. Sleep comes in every shape and way. It's the perfect end to a perfect day.
Anyway, that's it. There's a little bit more, but that's pretty much it.
It's so
It's,
good. So
eh.
good.
It's something.
Sweet sueños. That means dreams.
Good night.
Good night. Sleep tight.
Amazing.
Anyway,
Holy cow. No wonder he loves it. That's awesome. Voices and all.
it's something. See, he's looking over here. You can see him right there. He's hanging out right there. Yeah, so that was an episode of Human Factors Cast.
202. Yes. Grover and everybody came through.
Grover and everyone. Okay. So we got the post show. There were some technical difficulties. We made it through.
Yeah, it's kind of a nightmare. I did not
Yeah.
enjoy this whole process.
This is this is the
Don't
benefit.
understand why that's not happening.
Well, this is the benefit for everyone tuning in live because you get to see how the sausage is made. There's a lot of stuff that clearly didn't go right.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be one of those episodes where it's going to be better to listen to it than
Yeah, I think so.
That's okay.
We'll see how this audio panned out. I mean, it sounds fine, but who the hell knows?
Yeah,
Anyway,
we'll see.
Cool.
Question
Question for you,
post-show.
Nick, and it's
Yeah.
once we're done post show, I know I need to grab the video from Twitch. I can't get it on this laptop. How long do I have before it becomes a problem? Because I need to get on there and highlight it and grab it.
No. This 7 days, so you have time.
Cool. All right.
Yeah, but if we're shooting for like a Monday release, if you get your computer problems resolved this weekend, it should be all right.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's the bigger thing is getting it resolved. I just don't know why I couldn't resolve it. Usually it only takes like 15 minutes of 1,000 restarts. But anyway, it's all right. Not the end of the world.
There's one additional thing that we should probably talk about. There's one of the ones from last week got cut off. I like come in reading mid sentence, and thankfully it's the one that was going to drop on Saturday. So might need to just redo that one.
All right.
To include the full question because it's choppy. It's a little weird. All right. So post show. Let's see here. What are we doing? We're doing this one here. Let's go ahead and bring. So I don't understand when I show this one here, it flips us to where You're left and I'm right. Oh wait, this is not it. Let's see here. We're going here. Yes. So we are making thumbnails for this brain computer interface. And I think it's going to be fairly easy. There's a pretty good hero shot on the Brown website that we can use.
Absolutely.
Oh, hi, pal. Got a guest on the
stream.
Hang on.
Turn the story off, man.
Yeah, do the story again. He's a little puppy dog.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah. All right, here. Hang on. You want the story? Here, ready?
Story.
Ready? What if we did another one? What if we did this one that's like 4 minutes long?
Yes.
How's the volume on that? Can you hear it?
Yeah.
Okay, great. No,
it's
that's not
soft,
great.
But yeah.
Okay, cool. So as long as I'm talking, we should have no problems there. So let's go ahead and make this. So what is this? Oh shoot, this one's a long title, isn't it? It's and I realized, by the way, during the show, I didn't actually do any of the captions. Oops. So that's my bad.
It's all right. They know to follow us on Twitter now, so it's all good.
Yeah, it was a mess the whole time long. Okay, Brevin, I'm trying to do some work here, buddy. Oh boy, what a show. All right, first human use of high bandwidth wireless BCI. You know what? I'm gonna go. Blake, take it away.
Let's go. All right, so here we go with the first use of a wireless BCI. How nuts is that somebody volunteered? I would have been so scared to get a wireless BCI implanted in my head. I don't know. That still like freaks me out. I totally understand like the mobility implications and the communication aspect of it would probably drive me to do it, but I would be terrified. I don't know. Maybe it feels too science fiction to me still in 2021. But nonetheless, it seems like that. Well, I don't know. The guy looked really, really happy. If you were watching the show, or you'll probably see a clip of this guy in a second, but he looks actually a lot like my stepdad. I won't tell anybody. Don't tell anybody I said that, because he would not be happy with me, because he's not that old. But nonetheless, it's been a good day for Human Factors Cast in that regard. I'm glad that was the story that got picked this week, because the BCI thing really, I don't know. I think there's a lot of potential in it that'll come in, probably when I'm really, really old, it'll be a thing to do. Like Nick was bringing up the kind of like life alert type or style idea of just being able to use life alert through thinking, if you will, instead of like having to have a button that you have to click on your phone or click wearing around your neck or whatever it may be. So lots of potential for cool interfaces that can not only make your life a little bit better or give you more mobility, but potentially be saving your life in some regards. So you're not really having to do anything but think. The brown paper itself, that was probably my favorite part of the entire paper, was going back through and reading through like, okay, yeah, this is going to be basically a clinical trial for a long time before this becomes anything else. But really what we're doing is we're already getting ahead of the game in terms of the deep learning style of things, and start gathering data so we can go ahead and develop algorithms that understand the impact of these different neuronal changes, and probably the best window into neuroscience itself and understanding what really the brain does over time. Because like I can imagine, I mean, especially if they were doing these studies, I'm pretty sure they started in March, and they were able to survive doing it through COVID with just having somebody to interact with at home to kind of make sure this thing is set up good to go. I can only imagine that the data they collected over that, I think it's 9-month span of time, has a lot of interesting just twists and turns of neuronal firing. But nonetheless, that, I have to say, that symposium graphic they've done this year is awesome. They've really
kind of cool
up the graphic interface or the just graphic design.
Wireless BCI brain. Oh man, let me tell you, everyone's having some technical difficulties tonight.
Everybody's a technical difficulty. It's all right. We'll make it. It's not going to be the end.
Yeah, we got a couple
I
minutes left
wonder.
here.
I haven't checked out the what do you call it? I haven't checked out any of the tracks for the healthcare symposium. I wonder if there was any kind of stuff looking towards BCIs or not.
Oh, you know what?
I
That
would
is
be-
something I probably should have looked at before the show. Wow, that's ugly. What's going on there? Not lock the aspect ratio. I think that's what's going on. We'll do.
Yeah.
High bandwidth wireless. Wow, what a freaking mouthful that is. That's okay. We'll get through it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I would say we could just take out high bandwidth, but I think that's the big selling point.
That is the big selling
sure
point.
will.
It's like
Yeah.
I was workshopping it before. I was like, what could we take out? Right? I could do BCI, but I want this to be fairly accessible. I could
You
do.
wanted to, yeah.
I'll do BCI on this one.
Why not?
But yeah. So let's see here what we got. Oh yeah, we need that image. So I think it's this Brown article here. So let's take a look. There's this one, and then there's this dude. He looks happy. I like this one. Why don't we take
Looks
both
so
of them?
Stoked. Yeah.
Copy
why not? That way you
image.
can see it in place and then see the device itself.
Yeah, we'll do this. This dude looks happy. We'll make him a lot bigger. We'll make him like that, half the screen. And then we'll do this other guy. Not him. We'll do this guy. Copy image, and we'll bring it over here. Man, the post show is quality content today. I'm telling you, man. It's hey.
I would love to know the ins and outs of this little bit that's going on here, because I obviously it's got some circuitry and whatnot, but the fact that there's
just do this in the back.
whatever the intracortical wiring that's going on from that pretty simple looking wireless setup to your brain is still blowing my mind. I should have been an engineer, because this stuff is so interesting to me, especially
What
from
if we
the
did that?
electrical side of it.
How does that look?
Yeah, that's not bad.
With the pattern sneaking through. Is that okay?
Yeah, sneak on through.
All right.
I'm
I'm okay with
whether
that.
you want my actual design advice or not, I would either extend or bring the title down so you don't see the images come through the bottom.
Oh, interesting. I kind of like that approach. It looks like a banner over it. And that's the format that we keep with all the other ones. Let's here. I'll meet you halfway though. What if we did this? How about that? Does that look better or
Excellent,
worse?
killing it. I think it looks better because now you can see the pattern a bit more. Feels a little bit more branded.
Yeah. Oh, well, then now I want to add some padding at the top, right? Because there's padding at the bottom. So what if we did that and it's just the padding? But then this gets chopped up. So what if we
Yeah, because we do want that machinery to be pretty easily
Yeah.
viewable, I guess.
Oh man. So what if we do that and then bring this guy down like that? And now we're looking at that.
Magical.
Yeah? What do you think?
Line to the top. I think that's not bad.
All right. What if we centered them? That's probably good. All right. I think now we're talking.
Yeah.
I'm not super
We are.
happy with this. Whatever.
Well, go back to what it was. Just undo it like 100 times.
I don't know if I like that either. I like this hero shot we had last week. That's what I want.
Well, yeah, but that was like a graphic produced shot that makes it really easy.
Yeah.
This is a little
Yeah.
bit different since we're looking like a brown paper.
There's hang on. What if, stick with me, what if we just did BCI? We just did
Let's see what we
BCI.
get.
Better Cotton Initiative.
Yes,
Train
better cotton
computer
initiative.
interface. There we go. Did that.
Yeah.
Ooh.
That's
EMG.
the typical one, the skull cap.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. Hey,
What if?
put your brain in the computer. I love it.
Ooh, I like that.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah, let's use that one. Let's rip it.
Yeah, that would be a nice,
that's
what do you
some
call
bad. Some bad resolution on that one, or just not bad, just
It's not great.
Yeah.
Nice, very spicy.
This. Let's make that the whole thing. Order, send it back. Now, what if? Stick with me. Hold on. Okay, hold on. Hold on. What if we did this? What if we flip horizontally? Now the dude's looking completely the other way.
Love it. Looking at the BCI.
He's looking at the BCI. What if we hold on. Crop image. What if we did this? Hold on. Stick with me. Hold on. Hold on.
It would be if I just left. Oh.
Damn it, Blake! Don't do it.
He's out.
Okay.
I really like that purple background. That's cool.
Okay, what if we just took that out? What if we did that?
I've cut it down.
Let's undo this crop first off. Oh, where'd it go? There it is. Oops, shoot. There we go. Let's undo that. Let's pull this over. And that way we have the brain over here.
That's nice.
Yeah. And then that's the image right there. I love it.
A lot. Yeah. In between the real and the unreal. I like it.
Okay. We'll come over here. We'll do the post. We'll do this one. And everything's way too big.
Ooh, that brain is going to look sick in the small version, though, if you crop it. Although you're going to want the old guy in there as well. Sugar.
No, we're good. Hold on. It'll be the same. It'll be, do this.
A shame.
And then we'll bring it down to there.
Sick.
Oh, wait. Hold on. And then I think we'll just bring this send these back. That's what we want to do. Change. Order. Send it back. Yeah. Then the shadow's over it.
Loving it. Oh, by the way, did you feel or drop in energy at all? Because it seems like you're doing fine from when we started. Because I know you were worried about the vaccine hitting you.
Oh, yeah, that's right. No, I didn't do an energy. I did one right before the show, but did not do one during. So I'm okay.
Nice.
So I think these are it. We'll go ahead and do that. I got the whole post-processing checklist. Is there anything we need to chat about, Blake, before we go ahead and wrap up today? We can also do it off air really quick.
I think we're covered. All I've got to do is make sure I highlight the stuff within the 7 days. Hopefully I can figure out my laptop mess either tonight or tomorrow morning.
I will highlight it either way because I need to download. But if you need anything, let me know. Other than that, thank you everyone for sticking with us through this amazing technical difficulty evening. Really appreciate your patience with us. Go listen to the audio produced episode. It's going to be much better, I promise.
Yes. Thanks for chilling if you did, and I hope everybody has a good and fantastic rest of your week.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, everyone. We'll be back on Sunday for Blake's office hours. If everything goes well.
Come hang. Yeah, if the laptop turns on.
All right. Bye, everybody.